Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Millennial Revolt, an independent political talk show that seeks to bring a different narrative than the stale one we have going on right now in the mainstream media. So today we are going to be talking about Betsy DeVos and her confirmation hearing. She is currently trying to be confirmed for Secretary of Education, and she has raised a lot of eyebrows in some of the answers that she has given, and the lack of knowledge that she seems to show about some disability laws. So there's so much to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. President-elect Donald Trump's nominee for Education Secretary Betsy DeVos had a very hard and difficult confirmation hearing on Tuesday, with a lot of Democratic senators zeroing in on her lack of experience in the education field. Because she is about to become the education secretary, she is going to have to deal with our nation's schools. Democratic Senator from Minnesota, Senator Al Franken, asked Betsy DeVos her views on using testing to measure growth or proficiency. Now, growth or proficiency is an important issue in education policy, particularly when it comes to the issue of standardized tests. Now, proficiency measures whether students are hitting specific benchmarks for their grade level, while growth is about the academic progress children achieve or don't achieve. During the conversation between Senator Al Franken and Betsy DeVos, she seemed to get confused on the issue of growth and proficiency, not knowing which one is which. And he was asking her particularly what was her opinion between proficiency and growth, and she just did not know. And for me, as a person who is going to be the education secretary, even if I did not know right away, my whole thing is you had a couple of months or even weeks to prepare yourself for this confirmation hearing. So you should have been able to brush up on the issues and formulate an opinion. There is no excuse as a person who has been advocating for charter schools and school choice should not even know the difference between growth and proficiency. The fact of the matter is you should be able to answer basic questions as a person who has been advocating for something for years, and as a person who is about to be the Secretary of Education. There is no excuse for this incompetency. The next Secretary of Education will weigh in on the debate of proficiency versus growth. They will also be writing the education rules of the incoming administration, and the Secretary of Education will also have an influence over the president-elect's priorities when it comes to education. And the fact that you can't answer a basic question like this, you don't have an opinion, and you're getting the two issues confused, raises a lot of questions for me. Now, there was also a bit of an issue with Betsy DeVos's answer about guns in schools. Now, I think it's a personal issue that each parent has to talk about and make a decision for themselves on whether or not they want to send their child to a school that has a security officer with a loaded firearm. I think every parent has the right to say that they want their children protected in case something goes wrong. Chris Murphy of Connecticut, he is a senator to the state that's home to the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. He asked Betsy DeVos on whether she thinks guns have a place in or around school grounds. Her answer, I liked her answer, it was simple. She said that I think that's best left to locals and states to decide. But he seemed very upset with her answer, saying that you can't say definitely today that guns shouldn't be in school. Her second response is what raised a lot of eyebrows, is when she referred to comments she and Senator Mike Enzi of Wyoming made about a school in Wichita, Wyoming that had erected a fence to protect children against grizzly bears. She said, I think probably I would imagine that there's probably a gun in the school to protect from potential grizzly bears. However, there is no such gun, says Ray Schroom, the superintendent of Park County School District Number 6, saying legal restrictions prevent it. Schultz confirmed that Wichita Elementary School within his district has a fence about 10 feet high around the playground in an enclosed area connecting to the school's building. Another school district, Valley Elementary School, had a same fence. Schultz estimated the barriers were set up about 15 years ago. He said that grizzly bears had a tendency to wander throughout the area. He added, however, there has been no incidents of bear violence. Now, Schultz said that he would like to have guns in his schools. Now, this brings me back to my point. It should be up to the parents to decide whether or not they would like to send their child to a school where either the teacher, the principal, the superintendent, the security guard is loaded with a firearm just in case something happens. That should be up to the parent to make that personal decision for their family. I think since we have constitutional rights that allow us to protect ourselves with a firearm, parents should make that decision. And you shouldn't browbeat someone to answer the way you want them to. It is a very contentious issue. I personally believe that everyone has the right to protect themselves if they want to use a gun, while others probably will not. Again, it is an issue that each parent should decide for themselves. Now, Betsy DeVos had another issue when it was concerning comments she made about disability laws pertaining to education in school. Former vice presidential candidate and current Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia, he opened the subject by asking Betsy DeVos how she would adhere to the requirements of Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or commonly known as IDEA. It's a federal law that requires that public schools ensure that students with disabilities receive a free and appropriate education in least restrictive environment. Together with Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act, these statutes form the foundation of the rights that students with disabilities have. Senator Kaine asked Betsy DeVos if she believed that all government schools were adhering to the law and should be required to do so. Betsy DeVos said that she believed that all schools were following this law, and I think it's a matter best left to the states. IDEA is a federal law. The U.S. Department of Education is specifically responsible for enforcing the law. I think Betsy DeVos, if she is confirmed as Secretary of Education, should fully enforce this federal law. I think she has a responsibility to help our most vulnerable students, and if schools are not complying with federal law, they should have their funding taken away until they get in compliance. That being said, I personally believe that states have abdicated so much of their responsibility to the federal government. And our government does a shitty job in every single situation that they have ever put their hand in. I think states need to start tailoring their education specifically for their students in each particular state, because across the country we see that kids aren't reading at a basic level. Kids don't understand math. And this is becoming a problem. We're the richest country in the world. We're one of the most successful countries in the world, the greatest country in the world, and our kids aren't even reading and writing at basic levels. I think we need to stop letting the federal government do everything. The states need to take up responsibility that they once had and step in and start tailoring education for their schools. A couple of things that the Democratic senators did during Betsy DeVos's confirmation hearing, which was just completely ridiculous. Some of the questions that they asked, even though some were important, some of them were just out of pocket. Now, some particular senators, instead of asking hard questions that actually need answering, such as Common Core curriculum, how she feels about that, those particular standards, standardized testing, and the hot button issue of transgender bathrooms, what's her opinion on it, because I think it's important to know. Instead, they focused on her charitable givings, they focused on her tax returns, which is not required, and they focused on conversion therapy for gays, which she never supported in the first place. So Democrats, instead of asking legitimate questions, when I think she's unprepared given some of the answers that she has made, make asses of themselves when they continue to do stuff like that. It's one thing to criticize someone legitimately for them not knowing specific topics and rules and regulations of a department that they're going to take over, but it's another thing to start criticizing people for things that, one, is not even required, two, things they've never even supported. So the confirmation hearings are still going on. I want to see if Betsy DeVos gets confirmed. I think they should press her on policy issues, what she is going to do but leave unrelevant issues to the side because it just makes the Democratic Party look very partisan when they engage in behavior like that. Well, I'm the Millennial Revolt. Thank you guys so much for watching, and you have a wonderful day. Bye.